Welcome to the Nanotechnology Entrepreneurship Network podcast. I'm Lisa Friedersdorf, Director of the National Nanotechnology Coordination Office. We've decided to have a special episode today because in the current situation with the COVID-19 virus, we wanted to discuss how small businesses are being impacted and some of the resources that are available to them. And we're really pleased today to have Dr. Jennifer Shieh, Chief Scientist and Program Manager at the U.S. Small Business Administration, or SBA. Jennifer focuses on the small business innovation research and small business technology transfer programs. And the conversation today, I think, is really important and timely. And Jennifer, thank you so much for taking the time to join us today. To get us started, can you tell us a little bit about the SBIR and STTR programs and some of the challenges that the companies that use these programs are facing during this COVID-19 pandemic?
So the Small Business Innovation Research and Small Business Technology Transfer programs are really America's seed fund. This is almost $4 billion of funding from the federal government through grants and contracts to support small businesses that are doing research and development. And it's spread out across 11 different federal departments that participate in these programs. So Department of Defense, Health and Human Services, including NIH and FDA and CDC, the Department of Energy, NASA, the National Science Foundation, pretty much any agency that you can think of that funds scientific research and development also has the SBIR program to really focus that funding on small businesses and startups that are advancing technology commercialization. And so this is a pretty unique time. I mean, during this pandemic, all small businesses that are in our community, whether they're on the main street or whether they're high technology companies, are being impacted. The companies that participate in the SBIR and STTR programs might face some rather unique challenges in addition to the ones that we're hearing about on the news every day. Many of the companies that participate in the SBIR and STTR programs collaborate very closely with the research university and research institution community. Because all of these universities are also closing, being able to actually perform research and go to your lab is not possible anymore. One of the challenges, of course, is for companies that currently have funding from the federal government to perform research activities, they're not going to be able to work or continue that research if they can't go into their labs. For those current awardees and companies, it's really about staying in close contact with their funding agreement officers, whether it's their grant officer or contract officer, about what they'll be able to do. And there has been guidance across the entire federal government for companies that are receiving federal funds for agencies to provide great flexibilities in terms of not impacting performance reviews or an evaluation, for example, if they're not able to complete that work, and finding ways to work around it.
So, Jennifer, what resources are available to impacted businesses through the SBA?
Well, I think the one that most people are hearing about and is probably the most relevant is that small business owners in all U.S. states and territories are currently eligible to apply for low-interest loans through the Economic Injury Disaster Loan Program. SBA has been working with state governors to provide these targeted loans to small businesses as well as nonprofit organizations that have been impacted by coronavirus. And so these are working capital loans of up to $2 million to really help support businesses that are experiencing the loss of revenue right now that's happening. So this is probably one of the key ones. And so if you go to sba.gov, that's the best place to start. I will also say that SBA has a variety of access to capital programs for kind of the urgent needs or longer term needs and thinking about the future. What I'd say is that probably the best thing for being able to take advantage of some of the resources and kind of get some help in thinking through the strategy for addressing these impacts is working with local resource partners. So SBA has a number of resource partners like the Small Business Development Centers and the Women's Business Centers and district offices that are across the entire country. Really, the local support is going to be very helpful in also understanding how can some of these federal programs work with maybe some more local programs? Because I know that a number of local areas are also providing small business grants as well as loans. For this particular community, I think the NIST Manufacturing Extension Partnership Network, the MEPs centers, they're providing services to small and medium-sized manufacturers, for example, to help kind of address some of the impacts.
So you hit on this issue a little bit earlier, but I wanted to go back to it, and that is with respect to timelines for deliverables for companies that already have an SBIR or STTR program, those companies that are working as performers on government contracts. And if their performance has been impeded by virus related closures or precautions, how do you advise those companies to look at what the deliverable status is for them?
So definitely any current awardees of federal funds, whether it's through a contract or whether it's also through grant funding, should really stay in close contact directly with their agency and the funding agreement officer. So OMB, the Office of Management and Budget, has issued guidance across the entire federal government to all the federal agencies to make sure that there are flexibilities awarded for all these potential awardees as well as applicants. So really reaching out to your funding agreement officer about what the potential impacts to the work might be. And I think one of the key things too is that in trying to think about what that might mean in terms of the performance rating, if you're not meeting those deliverables, there again are going to be some extenuating circumstances around this. So I think everybody's trying to work to be as flexible as possible. I do want to also highlight specifically that if you're a company looking for federal funding, GSA put out a notice that for SAM registration, the System for Award Management, if you receive federal funding, if your SAM registration is going to be expiring within a window between March and May, they're granting automatic 60-day extensions. So you don't have to worry about that.
Can you point to other resources where a company can go for information?
Yeah, so definitely sba.gov is really key for looking at specifically the SBA provided resources. For the companies, again, I think that the companies in the SBIR, STTR space that are also not just feeling the impacts as a business, but also feeling impacts as a research organization, then looking at sbir.gov can be helpful if they are planning on applying for SBIR awards, or we are compiling the information from all the different agencies that participate in the SBIR program onto our website on sbir.gov. One of the things actually that that I would highlight there is, again, because it's such a rapidly evolving situation, that staying aware of if you directly tend to work with a particular agency like the NIH or the National Science Foundation, that almost every federal agency has a coronavirus specific webpage. So NIH, NSF, both have coronavirus specific web pages where they keep up to date information. On those web pages, in addition to identifying the flexibilities that applicants or awardees might need or want, if because they have current or potential award from that agency, a number of the agencies are also including funding opportunities to address the COVID-19 pandemic. And so that might be something of interest to this community as well.
Thank you very much for pointing that out. And I just wanted to make folks aware that on the front page of nano.gov, on the right hand side, we have three links to government resources. First, the cdc.gov/coronavirus, which provides a lot of information about the health information. There's an overall government website called coronavirus.gov. And there is a tab on that website that is specifically for small businesses. So I would encourage folks to look at that. And then, of course, there's usa.gov/coronavirus also. And those sites are really trying to roll up all of the government efforts. And I think that looking at such a rapidly evolving situation, those sites should be a good place to look for the most current information. Jennifer, one of the things that we haven't discussed is something that's been in the news quite a bit, and I'm not sure if the bill is finalized right now, but there has been discussion about resources for companies to hang on to their employees and not have to let them go during the next few weeks. Do you have any information? Would that be part of the economic injury disaster loan program, or do you know if that will take some other form?
None of the specifics have been worked out at this point. And so what I do still strongly advise you, like all the information will be there on both the websites that you mentioned, Lisa, coronavirus.gov and usa.gov for coronavirus, and but definitely on sba.gov once the specifics are worked out.
Great. That's fantastic. Thank you so much, Jenna, for taking the time to talk to us about this really important information. Do you have any closing thoughts that you'd like to share with our listeners?
Yeah, I mean, I guess I have probably a few different closing thoughts. One, this is a really challenging time for everyone. It's also, I see a lot of positive things, especially with the community of companies that are working in technology that can be used to address and respond to the pandemic. There are opportunities to present your technology. Maybe it can be easily adapted to something that can help address and reduce the impacts of this pandemic. And then I think I briefly mentioned that if you go to the specific agency websites like the National Science Foundation or NIH or CDC, they have funding opportunities to do research right now and are looking at mechanisms to be able to issue those awards very quickly. There's opportunities here as well to help prepare us, and some of the small businesses that were funded back in the 90s or early 2000s, their technology now is being used to help address the coronavirus impacts. And so it's important that we continue to think about how we're investing to stay resilient for the future. And I think that also includes on the workforce side and thinking about ways, all of the students who are now not able to be at their universities or at their schools, are there ways to incorporate them into helping them think about entrepreneurship, engaging them in some data analysis, perhaps, things that can be done remotely. I think I would really just want to end with my sincere wishes for everyone to stay safe and healthy, and that we really do come together as a global community that addresses this pandemic.
And I want to thank everyone who listened in today. We're certainly trying to share information that will be helpful to the nanotechnology community. Again, I encourage you to look at nano.gov and the websites that we identified, the cdc.gov coronavirus, coronavirus.gov, and usa.gov/coronavirus, where updated information will be available. And I just want to echo some of Jennifer's closing thoughts with respect to really being a community and working together. And we certainly will get through this rapidly evolving situation together. So we're thinking of you and really wish everyone the best. Thank you.